Hey everyone, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, get notified of our latest videos, give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and leave a comment. I do read and appreciate every comment you guys and girls leave behind. I may not reply to them all, but they are all appreciated. And there's a link in the description of the video that takes you to a big long list of all handy videos and a lot of the products I use in my videos. You now have the chance to support the video content creation by using Patreon or the PayPal me link in the description down below. All the videos will always remain free to watch. This is just your chance to help support the videos. Hey everyone, Polite Sam, welcome to part 2 of our Hobby Design 124 Porsche 911 DLS Singer build. So we're going to go on interior build today and then take it all apart at the end to put it together properly. So word of warning, if you watch this video, don't build along with it, watch it all and watch till the end and you'll see how it should go. The instructions are a guide. Don't use this as a instructional manual like I did because it's wrong and you'll find the interior doesn't fit in place. So you can follow the process of the build, just don't assemble it all until you watch the very end part of the video and I'll explain how it goes together. My fault for assuming makes an ass out of you and me. Test fit is the key. I say this all the time and I didn't do it because I went on the faith of the instructions and then sat there on yesterday's live stream thinking, why is none of this fitting together? And I had to break apart pieces of resin to get it all to fit. So is it going to work or is it going to end up on eBay or on fire? Yeah, it does. It does work. It does work. So let's jump in. Let's get cracking with the build. Hey everyone, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, get notified of our latest videos, give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and leave a comment. I do read and appreciate every comment you guys and girls leave behind. I may not reply to them all, but they are all appreciated. And there's a link in the description of the video that takes you to a big long list of all handy videos and a lot of the products I use in my videos. You now have the chance to support the video content creation by using Patreon or the PayPal me link in the description down below. All the videos will always remain free to watch. This is just your chance to help support the videos. So we're back onto the resin Porsche. We got some flash, whatever you want to call it, mismolding, a little bit of residue left behind under where the gear selector rod, I'm going to call it, goes. So we're going to get Suji Burrito file in there and then one of our UMP sponge sanders just to lightly sand out anything in there. We've got lots and lots of parts to clean up on this. And we're going to focus today solely on the interior. Now, this is a word of warning. Do not follow these instructions. Watch this, and at the end, watch what I have to do to remedy the situation. If you follow the instructions, everything doesn't fit in the car, and you have to break apart what you've made. Which is basically what I had here was 8.5 hours of footage of me building this interior and 20 minutes of me taking it apart at the end. So follow what I'm doing, but don't follow what I'm doing. You can paint and build everything in subsections as a show. Don't glue it all together until the very end. So like I say, lots of parts to clean up. Resin's really soft, so the cleanup's really, really easy. In fact, you need to be aware of how soft it is because you can quite often remove too much material, not meaning to. So we're using a different selection of UMP sanders, from our sponges to our thinny sticks, including a cocktail stick just to get rid of any swarf or flash of the casting process of the resin. Like I say, the resin on this is beautiful. It's near enough flawless, really high quality, but the instructions, well, they're a guide. They're not an instruction. So yes, pay attention to what I'm doing here and you should be all right. So we've got some large plugs where the casting process has been done. So we've got our JLC razor saw. I'm just going to carefully remove these. I wouldn't recommend cutting these parts off. The stress nut can crack the parts. And on seats like this, beautifully cast seats like this, it's worth taking your time just to saw it off. Now be aware of the resin dust. Getting it on your hands, breathing it in, not a good thing at all. I do believe it's carcinogenic in long-term prolonged exposure, but you know, a dust mask will suffice. Gloves, you should have gloves on. And I did notice at the end of all this, I can feel a little bit of burning on my fingers, which is a reaction to the resin dust. I've had this before myself, so take the precautions you find necessary, but don't trifle with this stuff. Don't take it lightly. It's not nice stuff at all. Some people will tell you it's not that bad, but for me, you're better off to take precautions. Like I say, don't need a respirator on, just a dust mask to stop any residue getting into your lungs. Like I said, the GLC razor saw, very, very precise tool. Ultra thin blade. There's two sides to the blade. There's a coarse and a fine. I always use the fine. And just, we're going to go around and remove all these excess core plugs, not core plugs, but plugs from the molding, casting process of the resin. Like I say, the resin is beautiful. It is nigh on flawless. There's a couple of little spots here and there. It had a couple of like miscastings, but overall brilliant quality. And as in the last video, we are going to degrease all the resin parts using UMP airbrush cleaner and a toothbrush. It's going to go around and scrub every part, every area, then dry it all off. And we're going to do this to every single part because there are casting agents on these. Release agents, what have you. It is resin. It's a different process to injection molding. So you don't want any reactions off your paint, and doing this way, I had none whatsoever. So a little bit of time cleaning up, well spent here. Like I said, we've got a lot of parts to assemble and paint here. Some are going to go with little sub-assemblies, and you'll see how they're done at the end. Basically, we can build up the door cards, the rear seats, the dashboard, the front seats, and then we're going to have to assemble all these separate. Now, this is a great little tool I bought. You've also made a little black drill. This is a drill I got off Amazon. Mr. Luke Ward from Scale Motor, Wardy Boy, bought one of these on a whim and said it was good. So I bought one, and wow, what a great little tool this is. £20, 3 speeds, goes right down to about 500 RPM, very low torque, which for me is perfect for modelling. And it comes with a multi-tool collet in it. Now, as you see on the bench, I've got a whole other selection of collets there. I did need to buy other ones to fit my shanked drill bit, so the links to these are in my products and on my Amazon storefront. If you want it, I would recommend getting the collet set, and for the whole lot, it's going to cost you £28. And this is a great little drill. Trust me, don't underestimate how good this thing is. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and I highly doubt you'll see my black one in use anymore because this is superb. So what we're doing is we're drilling holes where we can into the resin very carefully, and we're mounting everything ready for primer, so onto cocktail sticks and various other ways of mounting. Our chassis is all done as well. We've degreased all this too. There we go. And everything just needs priming. So we've got some Tamiya grey primer. I chose to use grey because we can use this on both colours required. So we've got the interior colour, and then the bottom of the chassis needs to be sprayed black. Don't need to mask the chassis. If we spray it carefully, we'll be just fine. We've got 0.35 apex. We've got 18 psi roughly, and some Tamiya fine surface primer out the rattle can. Decanted, thinned about 20% with Tamiya lacquer thinner with retarder. I was going to put down several light coats. So make sure you get all these little angles and recess and what have you, and carefully go around. Like I say, give it 5-10 minutes between coats, and you can come back and add another coat on top. We're going to just all the parts. Like I say, we could have primed in black because we are painting a lot of it black. But I chose grey because it was a one-stop shop, and grey is the happy medium for everything. So interior colour choice. Lots of different colours to choose from. Looking on the Singer site, I didn't want to quite go dark tan, and I didn't kind of want to go light cream. So I decided on a middle ground, which you'll see in a minute. Like I say, we're just going to coat everything in a couple of coats of primer. We'll let this dry overnight and come back the next day and get our paint down. So the interior is going to be a mix of carbon fibre. It's going to be the interior colour, semi-gloss black. We've got some photo etch in there as well. Got some beautiful decals for the seats for the tartan pattern. And it's going to look pretty at the end. Obviously, I know what this looks like. I've already finished it. And even though it's a little bit of a calamity with the instructions, we still get there in the end. So, good instructional vid here, that the instructions are not instructions, they are a build guide. And that's the best way to look at these. The kit itself, I can't fault it yet at all, other than the build guide isn't very accurate. But overall, high quality resin. And the fit so far has been frighteningly good. Like almost, oh my god, it only just fits. You'll see what I mean at the end. But like I say, everything's getting a nice thin coat of primer. 2-3 coats over the top. 10-15 minutes drying in between. And like I say, we'll leave it overnight to make sure it's fully dry. Now the beauty of using the zero paints that we've got here, as you can see we've gone for like a creamy beige colour, is because we're not spraying over plastic, we don't need to worry about any crazing because there's no reactions. We don't need to worry about putting it on in ultra thin coats. Now I'm not hosing it on, but I will admit I'm putting it a little bit thicker than I normally would. We're probably going to put 3 coats on this in total, getting all the different angles and recesses, and just build it up slowly. I really should have the lid on my airbrush, but I'm a very naughty boy and I haven't. But all the parts that we want this colour, we're going to go around and paint, and you will see it darken up over time. Now the way I've got this colour is by mixing 2 colours. Now this is Ferrari beige, which looks nothing like the picture on the bottle at all, and it's the tan colour. I forget the colour now. Saddle tan is what it is. And I've mixed them to get a slightly darker beige colour. which looks more like what the bottle looks like. And even darkened, it still doesn't look like the same colour. So buyer beware, check your colours. But this is the perfect colour. This is the colour I used on the Corvette C6 that we did. So I'm going to do exact same colour interior with the beigey tan seats and the beigey tan flocking on the floor as well. So like I say, 2-3 coats, not hosing it on, but definitely not going as light as I would on plastic. And we'll just build it up till we get the colour we require. Paint's going down great, no issues at all. Darkens up on that third coat just to the perfect colour I was after. Like I say, we've got seat backs to go on these. We're going to carbon fibre those, which is a whole other calamity in itself. But just some careful priming and painting will get this looking really good out of the box. Like I say, flawless resin, absolutely brilliant. Very, very nice quality. But just use those instructions as a guide. Please pay attention. Don't build this along with me. Make sure you watch to the end of the video and see what I had to do to get it to fit. Because it was a little bit soul destroying, and I will admit I was quite worried at the time, thinking, oh my god, I'm going to break all this. There's going to be a par-started Porsche Singer on eBay. But hey, we got there in the end, hopefully. We'll see, hey, at the end and see how it goes. But happy with this colour. It's just the kind of colour I envisioned. Didn't want the beige, I think it's a little bit too light. And I didn't want the dark tan. So a happy medium in between will do just fine. So we're about 18 psi. We've got the 0.35 apex as usual. We're just putting down, we're not going too thin, but we are putting enough down to get the paint down quite quickly. Couldn't do this on plastic. That would have eaten the plastic alive by now. But obviously, because there's no reactions on the plastic, the resin is pretty safe. And then we've got some semi-gloss black. So this is LP5, thinned with Tamiya lacquer thinner with retarder, 0.35 apex, 18 psi. And again, we're going to put 2 or 3 light coats down on all the parts, building them up. So, like I say, a mixture of cream, black and carbon fibre. It's going to be a nice looking interior. And we've got these beautiful tartan decals to go on as well. So it is going to be quite a nice looking interior. Sadly, when we're done, we probably won't see much of it through the windscreen and the windows. But I've got the video build process along the way, as well as me taking it apart. Now, these are the seat backs. I'm going to prime these in grey, paint them black, and then I'm going to carbon fibre them at the end, just for speed, basically. They weren't too tricky to carbon. They're actually quite easy. The old heat gun working absolutely brilliant. But again, just take your time building it up. And then the chassis. So if we keep this at a specific angle, we don't get any paint on the interior, and we can paint up all the chassis quite easily without any masking whatsoever. So a little bit of careful painting, works wonders, basically. You could mask it off if you weren't confident enough to do this. But for me, it's an unnecessary step. And again, 2, 3, probably 3 coats in total. Make sure we get all those angles and what have you fully covered. And as long as you keep the resin angle properly, you won't get any paint on the interior. And there we go. Camera is being a pain. I've moved it. I knocked it the other day. I did move it again. But it's kind of, it's just having its own mind of its own at the minute and keeps autofocusing. So I need to pull it back a little bit. So the autofocus isn't grabbing the airbrush when the airbrush is in shot. So excuse me for going out of focus. It's something I will remedy. It's trial and error, unfortunately. I had it in the perfect position and then knocked it. Well, in fact, I did knock it. It was Hannah. Hannah knocked it with her head the other day, picking something up off the floor. So it just shows you, doesn't it? Steering wheel, we're going to paint in semi-gloss, but we're going to satin coat it at the end. I am going to carbon fibre the centre of the steering wheel and the gear knob if I can do it. I didn't know if I'd be able to do it at this stage, but we'll see in a bit how that goes. With all those painted, we'll leave those overnight, and then here we are the next day in the cave. The interior has been flocked. Hannah has done this for me. As you know, I refuse to do it in the cave because it just gets everywhere. So Hannah does it. I did ask her to get my little son, James, who's 7, to film it, but it was more of a horror movie than a how-to guide, so I decided on leaving that bit of footage out. But yeah, you've seen flocking done before. I think I've got a video on it somewhere. Maybe I should do a standalone video for you to see. But trust me, it gets everywhere. If I did it in the cave, it'd be in the next half a dozen clear coats. And I don't want that again. I've already had that once. So that was done the night before. That's such enamel paint flocking over the top, and that's it. Really simply done. Let that dry overnight, and we're here the next day, like I say, and we're going to do some carbon fibre on the back of these seats. So it's quite a long drawn out process. So basically I've cut the shape roughly to size, and what I plan to do is get this side piece on and trim it on the first corner where it wraps around the back of the seat. So I'm just going to get it to fit for now, and then we'll piece a piece on the back of that halfway across, and then we'll match the opposing pattern the other side, and that way we've got a symmetrical pattern from the back to the front. So there'll be a join up the back, which in my eyes would kind of be how the real one would be done. Don't know, I might be wrong. But it's a case just getting it down. So we've got it on the seat. We're going to get as much air and water out the back as we possibly can. We're then going to hit it with UMP strong solution, and then we'll get some heat on it and just keep working it until we get it in. Now the scale production carbon works wonders with our UMP decal solutions. It reacts really well. So you don't need to manhandle it or go mad. I would just put it on like so, get it on the actual decal, let it get to work, leave it a couple of minutes, brush it over again, hit it with a bit of heat, and then brush it over again. You'll find it'll conform quite flawlessly to what you're trying to get it to. So I've included basically one seat kind of being done in total. This took it took a while to do. I'm not going to lie, these seats took a couple of hours to do, letting everything dry and positioning it properly. But I kind of left in as much as I can so you can see the process in complete. Well, what's the word I'm looking for? In total? I don't know. Is that the word? Not sure. As you see, we've got like a natural seam on the back of the seat, and that's where I'm going to cut it. And then if we piece it and you line up the weave, it's kind of an invisible join. So a little bit of heat on there, and as you can see, it started to conform lovely. I did it off camera, but there was a heat gun applied. And then we got our UMP strong on the brush again, and just give it a little brush and start to persuade it into corners and what have you. Like so. And it starts to conform beautifully around all the edges. So you may need to put a couple of cuts in if there's any strong corners where you need to get it round. And as you can see, I've run a knife down the back, right on that seam line where I want it to go. And we just keep working it gently, no real pressure, letting the decal solutions soften and conform the decal. As you see, it's starting to go in place really well. And then what we can do is we'll cut where the holes are on the side of the seat, hit them with some decal solution again, hit it with a bit of heat, and that should do us there then, no problem at all. And like I say, what we'll do, we'll repeat that on the other side, and then we'll piece the centres in two pieces as well. Now, the calamity I was talking about was using what I thought was two pieces of the same carbon, and then at the end, looking on the back, and two slightly different coloured carbon weaves, which bit of a pain, but not hugely noticeable, thankfully. And unless I want to strip the seat and start again, I just let it slide and just let it be. So lesson learned, make sure you got the right carbon fibre. So that's one side done, all set in place. We've got the other side here, we've got another piece similar again. So there's one done. We've got the other piece for the other side, and we'll use the same process on the other seat and repeat on the other side, and so on and so forth. So like I say, two to do. Just keep working on them. Don't touch the piece until you're happy it's all set in place. Once you get one in, you'll see how quick you can work it and how much you can push it, and you can push it a surprising amount. It is quite forgiving. And on the back, like I say, I've pieced it, so we've got a straight piece right down the middle, and then if we pop the weave on to the existing piece, line it up, it will kind of melt in and you won't really see it at all. Like I said, with that line up the middle being straight, hit it with some heat, some decal solutions. We can then match it on the other side with an opposing piece. So as you can see, we get like a chevron pattern. And we get a pretty flawless carbon seat. Look, not too bad at all, even though it is a slightly different colour. I'm happy with that. That'll do me. So we'll just repeat that on the other seat, and we're good to go there. Steering wheel, I've kind of roughly butchered a piece that we had left behind together. I'm just going to pop it on the top, make sure it covers all the relevant areas, like so. Trim off any excess that we can see. And exactly the same process as the seat. We're going to hit it with some decal solutions, hit it with some heat, and then work at it until we get it where we want it. Now, does resin melt? Honestly, I have no idea. So if you're using a heat gun, especially on small parts like this, really take your time. Don't put too much heat on. Let the decal solutions do the work. Over time, the decal solution would work perfectly. The heat gun just speeds up the process a little bit. So I'm just going to pop it on, let it sit for 5 minutes, hit it with some heat, and just keep conforming it until we get the edges over. Again, you may need to cut some of it to get the edges to fold over. But just take your time. If you're in doubt, start again, start over. But here we go, with a little bit of heat on there now. I'm just going to put a couple of cuts in. So I'm just going to trim up to the edge of the steering wheel very lightly, put a little nick on there. Brand new blade in my knife, so it's nice and sharp. There we go, get that extra piece of carbon off. As you see, it's already starting to conform. The decal solutions, a little bit of heat starting to really conform that decal round, and then a little bit of heat at the end. Don't put too much on. Your fingers are a good indication. If your fingers are burning, that's fine. Take the heat off. And then we quickly hit it with the brush again. Getting the excess carbon off. There we go. And yeah, quite surprised. Got this in one piece, first go. Quite happy with that. It looked really good. Now, as you'll notice, I always overscale my carbon because 24 scale carbon, you wouldn't really see on this at all. You can barely see the 12 scale. So I always overscale. And yes, it is too big, but trust me, if you're going to carbon it in 20th or 24th, you can't see it. You really can't see it. Especially from a distance, you just can't see the carbon weave at all. So I always think it's kind of a waste of time doing it. So I always overscale. Always do it. Always have and always will, because I want to be able to see what I've done. I want to see the effect. Whether it's overscale or not, I'll settle for overscale to be able to see the process. Gear knob, exactly the same process. The camera stopped rolling, unfortunately, and I quite missed it. But I literally put a piece over the top, fold over the edge, hit it with some strong, set it back in place, left it alone for a couple of minutes, hit it with the heat, hit it with the decal solution again, and it folded round absolutely perfect. Heat and UMP decal solutions are a brilliant weapon in the arsenal. Now, in the Hobby Design set of decals, there are these beautiful tartan seat decals, and we are going to put them on to their full extent because I love the look of these. They fit really well, so just follow the guide, not instructions, the guide, and pop them in place, hit them with UMP again, just going with the strong straight away on these, and then a little bit of heat, and we're going to conform. Hobby Design decals are beautiful. They fit together flawlessly. So they don't need a lot of persuasion, but a little bit of heat works wonders, as do our decal solutions as well. So love the look of these. It's kind of what drew me to this car, and if I did have a spare £1.8 million, I might be tempted to buy one. Like I say, the heat on thin parts like this, be very careful, keep the gun moving round, don't put too much down, just really, be careful putting this stuff down. You don't want to melt everything and destroy your hard work or your kit, because I reckon getting spares for these isn't easy. And then that's it. Same process for all the other decals. Pop in place, UMP decal solution, a little bit of heat, and they go down great. And there we go. There's the final one in place. The only thing is the top tartan piece loses the Recaro logo, which is a bit of a shame because I did like that. But I think I do like the tartan pattern more. I think it looks a lot better. The rear seats, and I use that term very loosely, it's just basically a pad of a piece of tartan to go over the top as well. So again, same process, pop it in place, a little bit of heat, some decal solutions, and repeat for the other side. So love the look of this. I think the interior of this car is beautiful. I think it's a tartan. Looks just absolutely fabulous. It's a very, very nice interior to sit in by the look of it. Whether I fit in these seats, I don't think I would, not just yet. But it certainly is a very pretty car. Is it worth £1.8 million? Don't know. It's a lot of money for a car, isn't it? It really is. Headrest, we put the inserts in. We're going to paint these black. Now, these are carbon on the real car. As much as I love carboning, I wasn't carboning these because life's too short, basically. I've got better things to do on something that you won't even see, really. So just some Vallejo model colour black, thinned with a couple of drops of water, and carefully brush painted. Any excess we can remove with a moist cotton bud. Again, we'll put water-based paint over a lacquer paint, so no problem whatsoever. And then on the back, there are these little seat belts that kind of fold up and are left folded up in the back. Now, I wouldn't fancy being in the back of these, as much as I wouldn't fit in the front of this car. There's no way I'm getting in the back, but I suppose they had the provision to get people in there should you wish. So all I did was fold these as per the instructions using my decal tweezers, aka photo etch benders, and just wrapped them around each other, a little dab of CA glue, painted them black, and glued them in place with the buckle in as per the guide. Not instructions, the guide. Remember, don't assemble this the way I'm doing it right now. If you skip through the video and not heard me, do not assemble the way I'm going. You're fine till now. I'll tell you when you're not to follow to. Look at the end of the video when I get there and then go back and assemble it. So yeah, tricky bit of photo etch, but pretty easy. I've got some of the double-sided acetate, well, sticky back acetate that came with the photo etch. And I'm going to use this to mount these parts. We've bent some of the photo etch parts as per the guide to for the foot pedals, the footrest and what have you. And they're in the spray booth now. I think I've primed them. I think I have. We'll find out in a second. While they're doing that, a couple of dabs of Loctite glue. We're going to get these seat backs in and see how pretty these seats look. And with the carbon and the tartan, they look fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And then with the headrests on top, it's the piece de resistance. And they look really, really good. Very pretty seats. Absolutely beautiful. Made up with these. Worth the hard work. And they look great. Rear seats, just popping the insert into the bench. So a couple of little dabs of CA glue. 4 in total. It's a couple. And then just pop it in place, nice and careful. And with a bit of thick CA glue, you get a couple of seconds to move it around before it grabs. And there we go. Again, makes the rear bench look good. And then, like I say, we primed everything, painted everything ready for on the photo etch. Where we decaled the carbon and the leather seats, we're going to semi-gloss matte them in Mr. Hobby UV Cut Semi-Gloss Clear. Just go around, it just takes some of the shine off the decals and just give the carbon a much more natural look. Now, to be honest, the decals on the seat, the tartan, probably could have done with a flat coat, but I went with this because I'm happy how it looked. It just made the carbon look a lot more natural. And the leather look a bit more natural as well, because the leather was very, very flat because of zero paint. This just added a little bit of sheen to it. So we did all the seats themselves. I didn't do all the door cards or any other parts. I just did the seats and the steering wheel, just to kind of give it that more shine look that leather has, that satin look that it gets. So lovely clear coat. Just put it on thin coats. Don't put it on too thick as it will melt decals. Roll cage at the back has some silver trim on it. I did contemplate masking it. Thought, nope, we'll just brush paint this. So some Vallejo Model Air silver, and we're just gonna lightly, very carefully put a couple of coats down around the edges in the center. There's a little PE badge to go in the center there, which will stick in a little bit. And then our instrument panel. So we painted all the PE, which included a bezel to go on the back. That's already glued in place on our dashboard. We masked and painted the dashboard, as can be seen here. Painted the leather colour, masked that off, then painted the semi-gloss black. So we're going to pop this in place. Like I say, we've got the PE bezel on the back. This goes over the top, and then there's one to go over the front as well. It's the same process as we've been setting all the other decals. UMP strong, pop in place. No heat on this one. Didn't give this one any heat at all. Just let this one kind of set itself. And then we've got a PE part to go over the front. So a couple of very strategically placed dabs of CA glue. Like so. Very careful, it's not going to be seen. And then grab our instrument bezel cluster. I don't know what we're going to call this. They should have bezels, aren't they, really? Pop that in place. Use the clean end of the cocktail stick to manipulate this where we want it. Push it down. And then we do have some PE bezels to go on. So it gives a silver look to them. A little bit tricky to put in place. I just put a couple of dabs of very light CA glue just around the edge on the raised part. You need to be very, very precise here. If you're not sure, use a water-based glue. But I was quite confident I could get this in. Like so. And then grab our decal tweezers. We get the PE off the fret. And then carefully line it up. There we go. Pop it in place. And then use the back of our tweezers to push these down. So they are numbered. They are numbered on the fret as well. So make sure you get the correct size. And we get all 5 of them down. Like I say, use the back of your tweezers just to lightly push them down to make sure the CA glue grabs them. So great. Really nice touch. Really nice bit of detail. There's also a little chrome surround to what I'm assuming is the radio. I don't know. Does this car have a radio? You would think it probably wouldn't. It might be heater controls or something. Not sure. Again, just nice finishing touches. There's a couple of grills on the top of the dash as well. There's a small one just under my thumb, and then this larger one here. So a couple of dabs of CA glue. Then carefully plonk this in place. There we go. That's that done. And then the centre of the steering wheel has a little PE kind of bezel that sits behind it, and then a raised piece that sits over the front to give the chrome look. So we're going to pop this in place. It is shaped to fit the steering wheel centre cap, or horn, I guess a horn push as well, isn't it? It should be. And there's a little piece to go on the top, which we've popped on here with a little bit of CA glue. Just pushing it down. Again, just be careful. Follow the guide. Look at the instructions. I say instructions very loosely. I just follow the way they go. As you can see, this just pops over the top. Need to be very precise here, so just take your time. And once that's glued in place, a little dab of CA glue on the steering wheel centre. Pop it in place and gently push it home. Steering wheels look great. The carbon looks superb on it. A little bit of chrome trim. And the finishing touch is a very nice, highly metallic decal for the Porsche logo that sits right in the middle. Hobby Design's got these logos down to a T. They are a separate decal in the kit. You need to look for them. They look great. Now, the instrument bezels, I wanted to fill with PVA, so I've got a syringe with some glue and glaze in, and I'm just going to fill it right to the brim. We're going to pop those bubbles in a second. I'm going to get a cotton bud, just remove a little bit of the excess PVA. I'm going to leave that to one side to dry, and that will leave us with a nice, shiny look to them. There we go. So just bleed that at the straight, keep it straight, and leave it to dry of its own free will. There we go, just mop up any excess. As you can see, I've got it straight at the back. Then we start getting some of the PE. So there's a couple of pieces to go at the front. There's like a footrest and guard for the front. There's a footrest for the passenger, and we've got the pedal box to go in as well, the clutch, brake, and accelerator. So a couple of dabs of CA glue on the back. I'm just keeping you focused on the dashboard here so you can watch it dry. And there we go. Hannah did a great job of flocking. She's getting good at this now, really good. And it saves me getting a lot of mess in my cave, it really does. And then our pedals as well. Now, I popped these in place, glued them. Once they were set, I angled them to the angle I wanted. They weren't quite at the right angle, but I wanted to get them glued in place first and foremost. And then our steering column in place. I painted the hand controls in silver, and then a little bit of glue for the back of the steering wheel. Make sure it's straight. Still got the PVA drying on the bezels, but it's looking good. Looking really nice. And then putting our seats in. A couple of dabs of CA glue. You can see what I mean about the decals on the seat. We've got a bit of shine on them. I think I should have done a bit of a matte coat, really. I still could, to be honest. But just making sure they're pushed fully home. And this is it now. Don't put anything else on this. Full stop. I'm going to. Look at the amount of CA glue I put on here, and I've got to get this off in a bit. So don't put anything in after those two front seats. None of this goes in now. You're going to put this into the car body and then put this piece in. So keep all this off, okay? Every piece of it off. Roll cage can go on because it stays as part of this rear section. So on the rear seat, you want to put the seat in, the belt on, the partial shelf, and this. You also need to put the air intakes in as well, but we haven't got to this stage yet because I was thinking this was done at this stage, but it's not. As you see, I've got my Tamiya optivisor on for all the PE and what have you. But don't put these parts on the door cards. I've got several inserts to go. You can build the door cards up, no problem at all. They just literally all pop in place. There's locating points for them all. They need a bit of persuasion in places to get them in, but overall they're a pretty good fit. And then we've got a central piece to go in as well at the end. So you can assemble the door cards, that's fine. Just don't put any of them on the interior yet. So all the front pieces on and the rear piece. We've got a nice contrasting leather and black look. And there's a central piece to go in the center. They did have some PE parts to do these edges, but I looked at it and thought, you know what? I'm going to use my silver pen. So this is an Edding silver paint marker. They work great. Silver edges, bit of sag at the back, and there's one door card, and there's both of them done. So you can build those up. That's fine. Just don't glue them in place. Please don't, because it's going to ruin all your hard work. As you can see, I'm gluing them in. And like I say, we're going to have to rip these off later, which is kind of soul destroying. Because like I say, it was 8.5 hours footage, this video, that I had to edit down. And after building it all in about 8 hours, I had 20 minutes of footage of me taking it all apart and putting it back together. But it looks great. I'm really happy with this. I think I'm going to put a matte coat on those front seat decals. But the flocker looks great. The colour looks great. Really brilliant. Gone together really well. Obviously, we don't want to do this. The carbon work looks great in the back of the seats. Really happy with that. But yes, we don't want to go this stage. So pay attention at the end and you'll see what I had to do. Dashboard. Now I'm thinking the dashboard's a bit of a sloppy fit here. And I'll see why at the end, because it holds itself in perfect when it's in the car, which you'll see in a little bit. So again, don't glue this in place. We're going to take this off in a bit, but I just thought to show the process and how good it looks when it's in. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning interiors. Great looking car. Really happy with the colour choice. Flocking is a great contrast to the interior colour. I can't remember who recommended this colour on the C6. Can you? I think it might have been Dan Croak. Was it Dan? I think it was Dan. Definitely Dan. I think it was Dan. I've probably got a couple of other parts I'll detail paint in there. There's a couple of switches and what have you. But I just wanted to get to this stage where we're done. Now here we go. We're taking it all apart again. So the door cards are off. The rear bench is off. The Porsche shelf is off. As I'm trying to fathom how the hell this goes together. If you're on a live stream the other morning, I think it was Monday, yesterday, you'll see me panicking here thinking, oh my God, what have I done? So the way to do it is you put both door cards on each side, glue them in place, push them in. Then the rear seat with the Porsche shelf and the roll cage slots in very snugly and holds all that in place as well. The dashboard goes in from the front through the windscreen and fits in perfect, as you'll see in a minute. Look at that colour. Isn't it a beautiful colour? Like I say, this slots in the back. If I just push it back, the fit is absolutely brilliant. It really is. It's very, very tight tolerances. And the friction kind of holds it all together. Make sure you're going to stay glue on your fingers. And then, as you'll see, this slots in place again perfectly. And the dashboard is in the top as well, as you'll see in a second. So once they're screwed in, that'll fit perfect. I've checked that if we push both ends down, it will. And there you go, there's our dash in place. And there we go, panic over, interior, look how well the dashboard fits from the top. Said, didn't I? So don't pay attention to those instructions, watch my video. Okay, so there you go. After a bit of a calamity, we got there in the end, and I think it looks brilliant. I think I'm definitely going to matte coat those front and rear seats on the decals. But wow, what a panic that was when I noticed nothing fitted. I literally had a screwdriver underneath the resin, prying it apart, making horrendous noises. Not me, the resin. Well, I did make some funny noises as well to get it apart. So yes, use instructions as a guide, not an instruction manual. So thankfully, it all went well in the end. I think it's turned out pretty well. I'm eager to get this done. I might push on with the next video and get all the engine in place and see if we can get this thing finished, because I'm eager to get it done because it's looking beautiful. Really happy with the interior. Interior colour is fantastic. Great flocking by Hannah again as well. And those tartan decals on the seats and the carbon, it just set it off. It looks great. Very happy with this. I'm looking forward to getting onto the engine and get this thing finished. Really am enjoying this one, even with the calamity that it nearly turned into. So there we go. So this is today's question. What model or build have you had that's just turned into a calamity for one reason or another? Was it your paint job went wrong? Did you spill something? Did you not read the instructions right? Did you dog eat it? Did the kid get hold of it? Let me know down below what it is. The comment section is very quiet lately. The views are down a little bit on the videos. So if you are watching, spare me with a bit of encouragement with a comment. Let me know what modelling calamity you've had. Or if you hadn't had a modelling one, what one in life have you had that you kind of look back and laugh at now, but at the time were mortified by? What have you had? There we are. I'm about to go live. It's Tuesday morning. It's 10:10. And I'm set to go live at 10:15. So I've got to be quick and go. So, as always, like to support the channel as a patron me, a PayPal me, and a buy me a coffee link in the description down below. Your support is what keeps these videos going. Without it, there wouldn't be any videos or daily live streams. So I appreciate everyone that takes the time to support my videos. Thank you very, very much. And down below is also links to all sorts of stuff from ISM Facebook page, forum, umpretail.com, my Paul ISM modelling page as well. Amazon storefront, you can get that drill. You can get the collars for it as well. and the Paul ISM daily live streams, Paul ISM Off Air Hangout groups, and the ISM group page as well as thanks to my scale mates as well. There we go. Please leave a comment, make sure you sub to the channel, click the bell notification, and make sure you give the video a thumbs up as well. And I'll catch you all in 5 minutes on the live stream, 4 minutes on the live stream, and on the next video. So enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.